All right, just some housekeeping items as we get started. We have you all muted right now just because it's a large group, and we're going to direct all questions through the chat or Q&A functions. You'll see those on the right side of your screen. We also will be running some polls throughout the webinar, so I encourage you to participate in those. And we'll see that there's a poll up now that you can respond to. We also have a handout section, so there are some PDF handouts you can download that go along with some of the topics that we'll be covering today. So we're Lighthouse Lab Services. We do this webinar once a month. We try to bring you what's new and innovative and out there that we think is going to be interesting to people in the medical lab space. We do this for free. We don't charge anything for it, and we never intend to. We just hope that as you need our services, you'll keep us in mind. And just a reminder that we do recruiting, specializing in medical lab space. We run the largest groups of medical lab scientists in the world on LinkedIn and Facebook. Consulting, we do turnkey lab startups, building a lab, filing your CLIA, finding you a lab director, writing your SOPs, validating LDTs. We have an LIS product that I think is more affordable than anything else out there as well. So those are some of the things we do if we can ever be of assistance. But today we want to just bring you some information that we think is going to be helpful. Presenting with me from my team is Dr. Varsha Megnani, who is a PhD in molecular diagnostics, and we'll be talking about the variant and the effects of the vaccine a bit. And then I also have some guest presenters joining us that are going to present on a newer model for distributing tests that I think is just really interesting. So we have Leanne Fenn from Wellness for Humanity, as well as Joshua Johnson from TrustPath that are going to talk to us about not only distributing lab tests, getting those out to people that need it, but also making those results a little bit more portable. So I'm going to start with introducing Leanne from Wellness for Humanity, who's going to talk to us about a very innovative, disruptive solution. May have heard of it. They've been on CBS and The Hill and mentioned by Jimmy Fallon and Ryan Seacrest. We've seen them all over the place getting great press. And they're going to talk to us about the vending machine option that they put together for COVID testing, as well as just what they're doing in general. So thank you, Leanne. We'll have you tell us a little bit about Wellness for Humanity and what you guys are up to.
Amazing. Thank you for the introduction. So yes, hi, I'm Leanne Pham. I'm the CEO of Wellness for Humanity. And first of all, I want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to share our mission. Our mission is how to empower humanity to thrive. And really our niche is, our focus of our group is COVID and wellness testing solution. So pre-COVID, we were working on a wellness and health project. It was biohacking hotel and co-working space. And a big portion of that concept was actually testing, but it was more like personalized testing. So DNA testing, microbiome testing, micronutrient testing. So basically the future of personalized health. And when the pandemic happened early in April, our group decided to pivot and help our community set up COVID testing in Houston. And so we were the first group that set up the kind of like the drive-through testing sites in Houston before the government did. From there, it kind of organically happened, and we ended up opening brick and mortars across the nation. I think the end goal of this year is to have 20 brick and mortars to help serve the nation, and also corporate testing. And then we launched our online home kits, the Saliva kits. And then recently, as John mentioned, we launched our vending machines. And we just did that in Oakland and also New York. And so the idea here is we're first starting off with Saliva Test Kit, and we are using Spectrum Saliva Kit. And also partnered with labs that have license in 50 states. And so the idea here is you would go online, the process you would go online to our website, you would purchase the Saliva Kit, and then you have an option whether you want to ship it directly to your home, or you can pick it up as curbside pickup at the nearest vending machine. So just think of it as a model as Best Buy or Walmart. So you can just choose your nearest location as same day pickup. So this actually eliminates the day or two travel of shipment. And as you know, I was just in New York. They're still waiting 7 to 8 days for results. And so every day counts during the pandemic. So the idea is once you make the purchase online and you choose to do the curbside pickup, you get a QR code that's sent to your phone. And then you can use the QR code to go pick up at any of our vending machines. It's contactless, and you just scan it through the machine, and you can retrieve the test kits directly from the machine. From there, you just take the test. You can drop it off your nearest FedEx. It already has the return label, and within 24 to 48 hours, you'll get your results through a QR code through your phone and also through your email. Currently, what we're doing is we're rolling out 25 vending machines being deployed right now. A lot of the interest is in the airports, subways, business towers. Some of the Fortune 500 companies are interested in putting on their campus. We also are talking to different universities. So these are different locations. We are looking to deploy them. Within the next several months, we are deploying and working on about 1,000 machines that's going to be deployed nationwide. Sorry. And also the future of this, not just with COVID, how we started was personalized health. So the future of it, the way we see these machines as a retail location to pick up DNA test or micronutrient tests or microbiome tests. And the whole idea is, how do we make testing more accessible so that the front lines can really focus on the critical ill and also with vaccination. And then, that's basically our mission, and I'm happy to take any questions at the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Leanne. Yeah, that's great. And as you see on the screen there, that's what one of those vending machines look like. I got to see it in person, and just super neat idea, very innovative, and I'm so happy to see fresh eyes and people from even outside of the historic clinical lab diagnostic space entering into the industry and bringing new ideas with them. I think that this solves a lot of the problems with standard direct-to-consumer type testing, even where we have shipping happening from the lab to the consumer and then waiting for it to come back. You're able to cut that time in half by having these point of sales near the consumers or patients that are needing the testing. So I'm really excited about this. I think it's a great idea. I hope it carries on and is able to be utilized for lab testing for many years to come. Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you.
So next, we're going to be talking with Joshua Johnson, who is with TrustPass. And TrustPass is going to talk to us a little bit about their goal to help make some of that testing more trackable and transportable. And Josh, I'll go ahead and I'll turn it over to you to tell us a little bit more about your mission.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, John, for organizing and the whole group at Lighthouse. Yes, and Leanne and Wellness for Humanity is a partner of TrustPass, and we support and have wellness built on TrustPass. So basically, the first part of TrustPass is test, and that is what we're doing with wellness. For example, utilizing that testing method of vending machines. So for us, just starting the process, basically we take a test and then we verify it and we track it. And that is, in a nutshell, basically end-to-end for a government. We're looking at whether the test be, for example, a vaccine or a Kovid test. We actually see the need of test, verify, and track as an end-to-end solution. So I think one of the key differentiators, understanding how kind of this is an end-to-end solution for governments. Right now, we're piloting in an island and understanding those needs of tourism, for example, as a key differentiator. There's a lot of needs and necessities out there that we basically bring all those things that we've learned from key things like, let's say, Clear or a Common Pass, and we brought them all together in one place. So I think for us, understanding the key differentiators, helping take one test, let's say a rapid antigen, and then how do we verify that someone took that rapid antigen? So for example, the saliva PCR that's going into the vending machines, that is something that we see as the first step. So that is the first test that we help people and drive people to. It's very non-invasive and it's very easy. It can be in the vending machine, it can be in a home, it could be really anywhere, and it's that simple. And the rapid antigen is the number 2 test that we encourage everyone to take. And we actually have an app that connects to a rapid antigen and makes that a home kit and makes that very trackable. And we actually are able to give that data to the government to be able to verify that. And then number 3 is the rapid antibody, and that's able to show how you've gone through the COVID process, whether you've had COVID or not, if there is enough viral load to show you have antibodies. And then going into the vaccine, basically you're able to understand the vaccine and where that's coming from. Of course, there's tons of vaccines, and we're going to talk about the neutralizing antibodies later. But having that bookmark, that bookend on either side of the vaccine to show a baseline, as John is going to talk about later, and the team see that baseline for quantifying how well a vaccine is done, because everyone's body is different and every vaccine is different. So seeing as a 5th step after the vaccine, those neutralizing antibodies and quantifying a score of sorts to be able to be put in a QR code and to be able to be scanned as a vaccine passport. So these are the things that we've started to look at and starting to test in beta, and looking at the various things of places to enter. So basically everything is a safety protocol within what we call a pass. So everyone needs to enter their home, their work, their, let's say, airport, their school, and to be able to enter, everyone needs a pass. So that's why you need a trust pass to enter with the work pass to make your workplace safer, or home or airport or school. So these are the safety protocols that we help identify in the given country, and we actually help in a sense create a full package for the government end to end, with understanding what is needed to accomplish their given goals in that country. So I think that this we skipped the last slide, but the last slide is track, and the tracking is probably one of the most important. And basically later I'll be able to demo that to you if you have interest. But the last slide is track, and that basically shows a dashboard for the government and a dashboard to understand the variables, because actually the vaccine is actually causing more variables instead of not. So adding those, I always see it like a glass of water. If you add a drop of blood and a few drops of mud, I don't think anyone really wants to drink that. So you're actually adding more variables with the variants that we're going to discuss later. You're actually having to track all those variants and then track the different variables within the vaccine and what the vaccine causes. That is needed and necessary to be able to see that all in a dashboard. So that's the last step, is tracking that in a dashboard, being able to see all those variables in one place. So if you guys do have any other questions later on, we can definitely demo that one-on-one, and we can go into a deeper understanding of the platform.
Thank you, Joshua. I appreciate that. I think that is a much needed solution. I think there's so many different groups trying to tackle this problem, speaking of COVID specifically, from so many different ways, and we do need some kind of platform and standardization to help get those results to be a little bit more transportable and portable. And there's private sector, public sector, everybody has this need, and so you guys have done some great work making an advancement there. If anybody has any questions, they can message Joshua at info@trustpass.co. So we'll go ahead and move on to talking about the science of the variants a little bit, and we're going to introduce Dr. Magnani to discuss that. Just a reminder that if you have any questions, you can enter those into the chat function, and we will tackle all those questions at the end, or as many of them as we are able to. So Dr. Magnani is going to join us, and she's going to talk about the effects of the newly emerging variants.
Thank you, John, and welcome everyone. My name is Varsha Magnani, and I will be talking on effects of newly emerging COVID-19 variants. Before we actually talk about the variants, let's first discuss the basic structure of the virus. As shown in the image, the COVID-19 is an RNA virus. It has a single-stranded RNA as a genetic material, which is coated with nucleocapsid. This genetic material is further coated with membrane protein, envelope protein, and spike protein. Now, spike protein plays a very important role in the viral structure and behavior. Spike protein gives a spiky, crown-like structure to the virus. That is why it is called coronavirus. The spike protein also plays a role in mechanism of infection. As shown in the image, it binds with the ACE receptor on the host cell, and that's how it enters into the host cell and infects the cell. Once inside the cell, it starts replicating and creates more and more viral copies and spreads the infection. Now, change in the spike protein structure due to mutation that affects the way it binds with ACE receptor will affect its infectivity and transmissibility. Like it is shown in this image. The gray structures are spike proteins and the green is ACE receptor of host cell. The one with ACE receptor bound is actually mutated form of spike protein. And due to mutation, the binding efficiency is better, and that's why mutated forms have more transmission rate than the original forms. Similarly, other mutations in other viral elements can also affect viral behaviors like severity of the infection, influence on the host immunity, vaccine efficacy, diagnostic test results, etc. We will talk all these in our next slides. As such, mutations are actually a natural phenomena. Mutation rates are higher in RNA virus than DNA virus. Luckily, mutation rates are lower for COVID-19 than other common RNA viruses like flu and HIV. Now, question comes is, how do these viruses mutate? Mutation is nothing but an error in replication. So if the error is not corrected, it is left as such in the new offsprings and it is called mutation. But is it a random event or triggered by something? Scientists have proposed two of these triggers that I have listed here. First, when virus has the pressure to survive, it starts to mutate. Under pressure, virus mutates, changes its structure, and escape from the harsh environment. Another trigger is when virus remains in an immunocompromised host for longer period of time and keeps on replicating in that host, then also chances of mutation increases. And researchers believe that these two triggers might be involved in the emergence of new COVID variants that are floating around. Now, not all mutations have a significant impact, but of course some do. And here we will discuss only these three, which are very important and very common variants that are originated in 3 different locations of the world. Now, these variant lineages are not just one mutation. They are a group of mutations collectively given these names as B117, B1351, and P1. Here is the comparison of all 3. B117 originated in UK, B1351 in South Africa, P1 from Brazil. Now, row 2 shows the list of all the mutations each of the variant lineage carry. The green highlighted one is present in all 3 of them, which is kind of interesting as well as puzzling because they all are originated in 3 different parts of the world, still carry the same mutation, which indicates there was some common trigger, but of course, at this point, we don't know. Now let's talk about the transmissibility. The transmissibility of UK virus is about 50 to 70% higher than the original variant. the UK variant is actually growing too fast in USA that almost every week it is doubling in number, which will make UK variant the predominant variant eventually. For other two variants, there are no evidence so far about whether they also show increased transmissibility. There are no such evidence yet. In terms of virulence, that means whether these new variants produce more severe infection or not. Initially, it was suggested that UK variant produces more severe infection, but later no evidence were found to support. But scientists still believe, even though the virulence is not high, but since transmissibility is high, more and more people will get sick, get hospitalized, and more deaths will occur. So it is like indirectly affecting the severity of the disease. Again, the other two, no data about increased virulence. Next is probably the most important question the entire world is concerned about, is whether the current vaccine candidates will be effective on the new variants or not. Again, there are some studies that show vaccines are still effective, whereas some show the new variants are not responding to the vaccines. Due to such mixed opinions and data, most researchers believe the current vaccines will still be effective, may be less effective, but at least will slow down the further transmission. And of course, many companies have started working on developing new versions of vaccines as well. Finally, whether the current diagnostic test will be able to detect the new viral strains is also a very important question to discuss. The UK variant especially has reported to affect the two RT-PCR based tests. Other variants might also affect, but again, currently no reports are available. When we talk about COVID diagnostic tests, the most commonly used, the most sensitive tests are RT-PCR tests. And RT-PCR based tests utilize some of these common viral regions and design the primer probes against them. Any change in these regions due to mutation might affect the binding of primer probes and affect the final results of the test. If binding is not proper, there won't be any signal and will produce false negative results. Here are listed 3 assays that FDA has reported to be affected by the novel viral variants. 2 of them are affected because of the mutation in spike protein, which is again a UK variant. First is TACPath COVID combo kit. It is probably one of the most commonly used tests around the nation. It has 3 COVID specific targets, ORF, N, and S. The sample carrying the UK variant with S target mutated, and that S will not amplify, S will not be detected. But since kit also has 2 more targets, FDA is not much concerned about any false negative issue. FDA recommends to get the results confirmed by viral sequencing based tests if S drops out. Another test is linear COVID-19 assay. It also has 2 targets, S1 and S2. Again, FDA is not that concerned because mutation is present in S1, and in case of S1 drops out, S2 still amplifies. Recently, vendor did a surveillance study to prove that their assay is still detecting the UK variant, which is a good news. And third test that I have listed here is Acula SARS-CoV-2 test. The FDA has reported because of one of the N gene mutation. These tests are affected because of N gene mutation. The variant affects the sensitivity of the test. So the variant carrying samples with low viral content might produce negative results, but samples with high viral contents are still correctly detected. So again, not big concern as the variant is not very common, and it is still detected, even though with low sensitivity, but still detected. Regarding other diagnostic tests like antigen tests, so far no test is found to be affected by these variants. I confirmed with FDA as well. So FDA told that they are still working on it, but so far they haven't found any of the antigen tests to be affected. So in summary, FDA has started this huge surveillance program to test the efficacy of different tests. And basically, FDA recommends to have multiple COVID-specific targets when you are designing a new test. And if you are using a test which show a S, like any target drops out, especially S, then FDA recommends to confirm your results with alternative tests, especially sequencing-based tests, because it covers all the entire genome of the virus. So I will stop here, and I'll hand over to John to carry forward. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Magnani. I appreciate that. We had some questions, so I also just wanted to go ahead and take a moment to share a little bit about our test, because we had some of that. So we have produced a few different tests to help with this, mostly to help with lowering the cost for individuals as well. So we do have a Saliva Now test that uses a neat or clean sterile tube that we're able to do, and usually able to help labs save quite a bit on cost, consumable costs in particular. We can get that price significantly down, under $15 per test with consumables on that Saliva Now assay. We also have a Kovid Now assay that does saliva and swab, also should be able to save labs some money. And then we've developed a FluVid Now assay, which looks at coronavirus as well as flu A and B, and then has a control for just making sure it's a human sample. None of those tests and assays have shown any effect based on the variant. So I just wanted to mention that. I did put it on your screen if you want to hear more about any of those tests or get a price quote on that. We'd love to talk to you about it. Also wanted to talk about how the vaccine is going to affect everything. And, obviously don't have a crystal ball here. I saw some chat comments come through saying, why are we talking about lab testing? The vaccine's here now. Is this all going to go away? We asked the poll at the beginning about how long this is going to be around. What do we have, 3, 6, 9 months left of testing? What is the future going to look like? We don't know, and I think anytime over the last year, if any of us were to guess, we probably would not have been correct. So it's a little bit futile, but we know that there will be an end someday to the coronavirus testing emergency use authorization. So the FDA right now has that emergency use. It will come to an end. When it does, we do need to be prepared for the fact that if that test has not gone through the process to get officially approved by the FDA, not under emergency use, but under a traditional workflow through the 510K process, it is going to be seen as an LDT, as a lab-developed test. As a lab-developed test, it will be high complexity by default and would need to be validated as an LDT inside your laboratory. So something we can certainly help with. We do a lot of LDT validation, but that's something you need to be prepared for. There's also several other regulatory, both on the federal and state level, that have been relaxed as a result of the pandemic. And we need to be looking forward to, once those regulation relaxations end, we return to normal. That means that, if you're in California and you have staff doing testing that's not California licensed, that's probably not going to continue, right? You're going to need the traditional licensure there and in New York, and some of the emergency permits that allow you to test samples from other states are going to come to an end, and you're going to need to go through the traditional application process. So things to be aware of just as we're looking forward. What is your plan for continuing to be able to provide testing once those EUAs expire? Is something that you'll want to think about, and we're happy to help if there's anything we can do there. Antibody testing, I think, is going to be the next wave, right? So that might seem like, hey, antibody testing's here now. I think we're going to need a more sophisticated antibody test as vaccines become more prevalent. So the antibody tests that are on the market now, most of them are qualitative tests. A lot of lateral flow kits that give a positive, negative result. Yes, you have antibodies. What that doesn't measure is, do you have the neutralizing antibodies? And the neutralizing antibodies are the ones that bind to the virus, and those are the ones that neutralize the virus. And so unless you have presence of neutralizing antibodies and you have that at a material level, that's not going to be indicative of resistance or immunity. And we're still waiting for guidance from medical journals on exactly what levels those need to be. But I think we need a quantitative test that is going to be able to look at not just your antibodies, but specifically your neutralizing antibodies, and then deliver a result that's quantitative to say, how many do you have? Are you at a score of a 0 on that, or are you at a score of a 5, a 72, whatever that may be? And so we are rolling out a neutralizing antibody test that is quantitative, and we'll give you an immuno rank on a score of 0 to 100 so that people are able to go ahead and follow that. They can do a baseline check before they get vaccinated and then after to make sure that it's working. And that will, give them some comfort, but also allow them to know their score. They can continue to track that over time, because we do know that those neutralizing antibodies will drop off with time. And so that's something we've developed. If we can help you with that, we can either offer that test so you can do it on your test menu and reference it to another lab, or we can validate it inside your laboratory. So want to talk about that. I also want to talk about the next phase being adding the detection of flu in with the COVID test. And so we see a lot of demand by our customers for not doing the traditional COVID test, which now is reimbursing $75 unless you can prove that you're doing it within 2 calendar days, and can add on that extra $25 for $100 reimbursement. The flu A, B, and coronavirus, a panel for that would reimburse at about $142, and we do have an assay that does that. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, we'd be happy to go over that and what it would look like to validate that inside your lab. It also is just some of the benefits of it here. It's going to give you some flexibility. It's going to give you just more diagnostic information as a practitioner is looking at a patient that might present with potentially flu or COVID symptoms. They'd be able to knock both of those things out with one test at a really low cost. So we are offering free validation of that in your lab, assuming that you have some sample volume coming through already that meets levels that make sense. So that's all I have. I did want to turn it over to the Q&A portion of the presentation here. So if you have any questions for our presenters, go ahead and drop those into the chat. We will go and see if we can pick a few of those to tackle now. I think a lot of them did get answered. I know one of the questions that was coming in was about people that are coming in and out of airports, and how does that work when somebody wants to leave the country? Joshua, I don't know if you want to maybe take a run at that and how Trespass answers that, but I think that might be a good one.
Awesome. That's actually the reason why I'm in Cancun right now and on limited bandwidth. But we're looking at actually in the lab, they have labs in the Cancun airport. And right now they have antigen as the main focus of going in and out of the Euas. Is basically the cheapest way. But there's also other countries that still require PCR. And Trespass is validating both of those. So that process is definitely needed, whether it's a QR code or barcode to verify the specimen is tracked, and then to verify that is correlating with the QR code on someone's airline ticket. And then that airline ticket would be verified against the identity of a passport. So I think that's something very necessary and something we're focusing on right now.
Great. Another question came in about the FluVid test and asking a couple questions, I guess, what the complexity level was. Right now, that would be validated as an LDT. We will help do that for free and validate it inside your lab, but that would make it a high complexity by default since it is a laboratory developed test. There is a pending EUA on that once approved would allow it to be potentially moved to a lower level. But right now it is a high complexity test and we can help get that set up if that's something you're looking to do. There was a question also on whether it could be done on saliva. Right now, we are not doing that on saliva. We're doing it on a swab, and so it would be a swab-based test for that. And we can do it with VTM or through multiple different collection kit methods could be used. But all right, what else do we have here? Let's see, it looks like the test can be ordered before physician authorization is granted. Spectrum Solution does not have other over-the-counter designations, so we have some questions about just how that works. It might be something we need to take offline, but we do include, and Wellness for Humanity does, a physician order with every test. And so there is a physician of record that is behind each of those tests, and that's what we would recommend as well. The next question's about that as well. Can the test be done without the provider's signature? That is our recommendation. There are states, of course, where direct-to-consumer testing is allowed. However, we have seen in some states where organizations have been deemed to have been practicing medicine by offering tests without a physician order and providing those results. And so I'd say you tread carefully there, and our recommendation always is to include a physician order. We do have a network of physicians in all 50 states plus DC and Puerto Rico that's available for a few dollars per test to work into your workflow if that's something you're interested in. What is the cost of consumer insurance on the machines? I think they're referring to the vending machines, so that would come back to you, Leanne. I think I know the answer to that. I'm not sure if Leanne is still with us. Leanne, are you here?
No, she wasn't.
I think she had to run, but
yeah,
I think I can answer that. That's being done as a cash pay test at this point. And you could always, I guess, submit for your own insurance to try to get reimbursement for that, but that is a cash sale retail product. So it wouldn't go through traditional insurance methods. And I think we covered most of the other of those. I'm just scanning the list here to see if we can maybe grab one or two more.
He was saying is trespass HIPAA compliant? He's
go ahead.
Asking. No, he was saying that trespass.
Yes,
it is. It is. We have, depending on each country, but we de-identify the specimen and match that, and it is HIPAA compliant. Yes.
We got a question here about how do you get anti-science, anti-vaccine people to get tested? That is not a problem that I guess I'm prepared to solve, but I agree with you that that is a very frustrating issue, Alapade. But I'm not sure that that's something that we've got the answer to, but it's certainly frustrating as we seek to try to get everybody on board with getting vaccinated and tested and making sure that our whole society is safe. So I want to thank you, Joshua, for your time, and Leanne for your time, Dr. Magnani for all your scientific wisdom and knowledge that you were able to share with us today. Thank you all for joining. Participants, let us know if there's anything that we can do to help. We hope you'll join us next month as we continue to bring forward information about developments in the industry. Here's some of the supporting material on the screen now for some of Dr. Magnani's presentation. Thank you all.